Hi, welcome back to Homeschool Peace. I'm Cassandra. Today I'm sharing with you the Mardel, a simple plan homeschool planner for the upcoming 2023-2024 school year. This is really my go-to planner, and this coming year I've now been using it going on 6 years, and over my time using it there really hasn't been all that many changes until this new planner. So in today's video I'm going to give you a full tour of the planner, stopping along the way to share the new changes as well as giving you some great close-ups of the inside of this book. This planner is designed to hold up to 6 students. If you have more than 6, there's obviously some ways you can combine the information together when you write it down. But if you have 6 or less students, they're gonna all fit comfortably within this one planner. I love that there's just one place I go to find all my students' information and I'm not tracking down different planners. I'm gonna start with the construction of the planner. And the first thing to point out is how the binding is. So for the new planner this year, really excited that they've made a great change. So in this past years and previous years' versions, they've always had this like plastic coil binding, which one of my sort of negative reviews in the past has been that these bindings always end up snapping or breaking on me. You can see this edge right here, it's broken. So one of the things that I was really hoping that they would change is to some type of metal binding, which they did. I'm so excited that Mardel obviously hears their customers and makes changes when needed. So the new binding is all metal and it's really nice and thick. So I'm really excited to see how this is gonna hold up this upcoming year, and hopefully I'm not gonna have any breaks, which is great. The next thing to go through is the cover of the book. For the new book, it's a little bit different than the past year's versions. It's actually like a heavy, thick, laminated cover, and it still does open up and lay flat, so the whole book itself can open and lay flat. And the back side as well has the same sort of thick laminated cover. This is different from previous versions. The older versions had more of a cardboard, like a thick coated cardboard cover, which did the edges sort of get bent up a little bit. I never had the cover of the old version rip on me, but definitely you can see the edges get a little bit worn out. So excited now that we have this coil binding as well as a really thick cover for the new planner. When comparing the two planners, one thing you can instantly see is that the older planner from this current year is just thicker than this upcoming school year's planner. You can see the difference when measuring. This one is about 3/4 of an inch thick versus the older planner is about 1.25 inches thick. So it's almost about a 1/2 inch difference between the new one versus the older one. So I'm really excited for this change because when I'm on the go, I really sometimes struggle having the thicker planner because it's just so bulky and big. I'm really excited to be able to travel and be on the go with this planner just being that little bit thinner. It's just going to really fit into my bag better. For them to be able to make that change, there's obviously some updates that they did inside of the book. The first update is the thickness of the pages. So for this older planner, the thickness of this page, I would compare it more like maybe a bulletin or a program, and the thickness of these pages feels more like your computer or printer paper. So definitely a little bit thinner. And so with that, over time, it'll be interesting to see how do these pages hold up? Do they stay inside the binding? Do they tear or pop out? Obviously, I'm hoping everything stays in and it stays together nicely for the year while flipping, but that'll be something interesting to see how these pages hold up. One of the other changes is regarding the tabs. So in previous versions of this book, the tabs have been on like a thick coated cardstock. Instead, what they've done is they've taken this cardstock, sort of combined it with the next page together, and then instead used simply a thinner, that computer or printer paper, and then added a glossy tab, like a thicker glossy tab to the ends of these pages. So you still have all the tabs along the side, just like the older version. It's just that they're attached to more of the thinner page. So that right there, just for what I'm seeing, is probably one of the bigger differences of why this book is much thinner. I can see that they've combined a couple pages together, and that would be for every single month, as well as just use the thinner paper and not use that heavy, thick cardstock for each month. So I'm really happy for this change, and I'm excited just to see how easy it will be to move around and have it in my book bag, and I'll obviously watch those pages along the year. Now let's take a look at the inside of the planner. And one thing to point out, this planner does not include things like your workout schedule, your budget sheet, your grocery lists, as well as like any of your own personal journal information. I keep that all in a separate book. When I was shopping for planners, I was looking for a planner that was really focused on all my students all in one, with focused on their actual school work, and that's what this planner gives me. So first, taking a look at general information, it has an area where you can put your students' information in if you would like to, and then it has some sample pages. I highly recommend going through these sample pages, especially if you're new to this planner. It's going to give you a really great idea of how to do the weekly layouts, how to take a look at the yearly overview, and taking like one subject like math, and how you take a look at it from the very beginning of the year to the week 36. How would you lay that out for a whole school year, and making sure that you get everything done that you need to do so you get your student to the end point that you want them to reach by the end of the school year. It also has a monthly overview for each month that you can put information down, as well as a calendar, as well as your weekly spread. This weekly spread, there's one for every single week. This is where you're going to actually be putting the information that your student needs to accomplish for each day. So seeing this example is really great because you can see how they've, abbreviated their kids' names, simplified the information. How did they put it all in? So this layout is perfect to review. If you're interested as well, I do have a video, it's linked below on my channel, that I go through how I use these pages, as well as the planning section, if that interests you. And then after this sort of overview section, you have the actual planning section. This is my go-to section. I love going through this every year. There is a page for each student, so 6 total, that you would put your students' main information, the curriculum that you're using, and then there are 6 subject pages that you can use to plan out your curriculum for over the whole entire 36 weeks. So I'll just sit there and put our language arts curriculum, I'll take a look at it, and sometimes it can be a little overwhelming when you get material in for your curriculum, where to even start. So I just simply start with lesson 1 on week 1, but then I end with where do I want to end for the end of the year, and I put that lesson that I want to end on, and then I sort of work backwards until I get to the beginning again to see where do I get to the end, and how do I connect the dots to make us be able to get through everything we need to do for that particular subject. So this planning section is really helpful. So definitely consider going through those sample pages, and then spend some time in the planning section. So now let's go ahead and take a look at actually one of the monthly overviews and layouts. When looking at the actual weekly schedules, you can see that it starts here July of 2023, and it's going to end June of 2024. So right here, these pages are your main pages that has all the calendar and weekly information. So most of the planner is those monthly and weekly spreads. When I take a look, say at 1st of July's schedule, I can go here first to the July overview. There's a section for things to accomplish, special activities, reading list, website, as well as prayer requests and answers. And then finally, there is a supplies needed section. When you compare this sort of overview layout to the previous ones, pretty much it's the same information or sections. It's just in a little bit of a different order, a little bit different graphics as well, since obviously we're doing more like the flower theme and they have like different borders around it. But if you are comparing it to a previous version of these planners, it's pretty similar. Then going to the next page is your monthly sort of calendar layout. Some people really like seeing it in a full calendar layout so that they can see how the weeks connect. So if that's where you sort of like to write your information down in, you can definitely do that here. And there's a note section on the side. Again, comparing that to the older versions, pretty much the exact same. There's always been a calendar for each individual month since I've been using this planner. Now taking a look at one of the weekly spreads, you can see here that you have 6 subjects or six sections going down the side of the page. I typically, sometimes I have more than 6, so sometimes I have a loop section or an extra section that I just add any of my rotating extracurricular activities in. So that's how I sort of combine some things together. But I write down on the side here their actual individual subjects, such as math would be one and science would be the other, and language arts. And then on each of these lines where you see the little dots, that's where I'm going to be putting my students. I abbreviate with their initials, so I just abbreviate their names, and then I have just what they're going to be accomplishing for the individual days. One of the things that I can say is sort of a con with the layout is that it is only Monday through Friday. If you are a family that goes and does school Saturdays and Sundays, every family's different. There isn't really a section for you to have Saturdays and Sundays unless you're using the calendar view. What I have found really helpful is if I have a week that we are doing school on a Saturday or Sunday, I will simply just draw a line straight down on this sort of note section that's on the side, and I'll just at the top write Saturday or Sunday, and then I just basically just go as with how I have the subjects already laid out, and I just add whatever we are doing for those individual days on Saturday or Sunday on this actual weekly spread, and that works really fine for me. When you go through the end of the page, there's a future planning section. I actually like that they made the small update, is they actually call it the August, for this one, it's like August 2023 future planning. So that's you're sort of identifying that this is future planning for the upcoming month. I know it's such a small change. The other one just always said just future planning, and I actually enjoyed that they're almost identifying that you're not just planning ahead, not planning for the next year, that these pages, when you're finishing for each month, is for you to sort of think or plan for the upcoming month. And so you're just going to move into the very next month, which starts for our August layout, and it's the same type of information. So you're going to have one of these sections for every single month going from July 2023 through your June 2024. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the next section, which is student records. The next two tabs are student records and extras, and both of those tabs, when I compare it to the previous versions, are pretty much the same. In the student records, there is an attendance tracker. I really like having this page. Here in our state, we have to record 180 school days, so I simply can go in the back of the section, cross off the days that we've completed school. At the end of the school year, I just simply tear out this page, pop some holes in it, and put it in our portfolio for the school year. It also has some pages for your curriculum tracking, if this is something that you're interested in, as well as recording to the price that you paid for your curriculum for the school year. In this extra tab, it starts first with a grading chart, some suggested reading, as well as some information for salvation, as well as suggested scriptures to memorize. We have here a extracurricular activities section that you can record any groups or activities your kids are part of, as well as just some general notes. One thing they added to the book that I'm really excited for is actually stickers. I have never really played with sort of journaling kind of stickers with my planner ever before, so I'm excited to have these. There are 3 pages of stickers, things that you can just sort of add either as like little tabs or call outs, and so I'm gonna have some fun adding some stickers to my planner this year. So that was a really great ad that Mardel made this year. The last thing to point out is this pocket. So in previous versions of the planner, because this whole cover is larger and it's made out of the cardboard, you open it and there's a pocket on this side, and then in the back of the book there's a pocket on the back. Since the new cover is all like a heavy laminated cover, there isn't a spot for a pocket. So they added a pocket to the back of the book. Probably my only sort of negative with the pocket is that when I tried to fit a regular 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper in the pocket, unfortunately it doesn't fit. That's because the pocket itself is more like the size of 8.5 by 11, but then it has the binding. So you would have to either use just smaller things to put in the pocket, or if you had a regular sheet of paper, you'd have to fold it and put it in the pocket. I did like that I could fit a regular piece of paper in the older pockets. So just sort of a small negative. I don't think it really will affect my use of the planner, but it would be nice if in the future they found a way to sort of make this particular pocket a little larger, maybe to the size of the actual cover, so that 8.5 by 11 sheet could fit in it. And that is the tour of this new Mardel A Simple Plan planner. I hope you enjoyed going through this planner together and seeing all the new changes for this school year. You know, even though I have a couple little cons here and there, overall, I just really love and appreciate this planner. You know, sometimes when I get my curriculum in, I can feel a little overwhelmed with how am I going to accomplish all of this stuff for all of my kids for the school year. And this really helps me just pull it all together and just keeps me on track for the school year. So hopefully this can be a useful tool that you're able to use for your upcoming school year. Now, if you are interested in picking this up, I would highly recommend going over to the Mardel site sooner than later. I have that link below. They do hit a point in the calendar year that they do stop printing, and there also can be some limited stock as well when you come towards the beginning of the fall schedule. So if you are interested in this, make sure you grab a copy early so that you're ready to go for your school year. Before you leave, you know, if you have any comments or questions, I'd love to hear from you. Leave those below, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.